So I had
Yeah.
Buskago on the podcast, and I was like, Buskago, you went bungee jump. How do you do that? Like, I saw your pictures and your videos. I'm like, I'm gonna talk to her about it. How do you get? I don't know. I don't know if this sounds bad. Like, we call it. It's a slang. We say, how do you get the balls to do that? Like, how do you get? I'm Bonnie Kibuka. On my podcast, the Ugandan Boy Talk Show, I've had an honor to sit down with some of the most incredible hearts and minds from Uganda, like Miss Uganda Oliver Nakakande, Joram Ozoy Job, the Executive Director of Joram Model Management, Pastor Wilson Bugembe, and many, many more. On this podcast, you get to hear raw and real life stories of their journey, what they've been through, and the people that have inspired their journey so that they can make a difference in ours. Listen to the Ugandan Boy Talk Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Join the journey soon.
The weather in Uganda really,
I
it's
know I've had
sleeping weather.
everybody was complaining about the weather.
Yeah, it's so cold. It's been raining the whole morning, so
Yeah.
it stopped about an hour ago. So yeah.
Rain is not bad. The farmers like the rain.
Well, I also like it, but when it also becomes too much, then it causes trouble. But yeah, this is better than the dry season because that was way worse.
Right.
Yeah.
Eunice, welcome to my podcast.
Finally, this happens.
I was gonna start with that. Eunice, it's been like a year and some months, a long time. Because I remember I recorded with Nabs, uh, and that was the first time I got connected or introduced to you because I know she mentioned your name here. So I was like, oh, I'll
Yeah.
reach out to her and ask her if she wants to be on the podcast. Eh, na yet to find you, Banang.
It's available, only that those days I was in a hard to reach area. I was in Buindi, so I didn't want us to start recording when it goes off and
Yeah.
all that. So I knew there's no one going to record for like an entire hour
Mm-hmm.
and with like straight networks. So there's no way we're going to do it when.
No, I appreciate that actually because I've been fighting internet. All of people who are not even in the hard to reach area, and since my
Yeah.
podcast is online, it doesn't come out well. Nga, you don't have good internet, and there's a few podcasts we've had to redo because the internet was not good. So I appreciate that, and yeah. So you came to Kampala and you reached out, Nogamba. I'm ready to do the podcast.
Yeah, so I was like, if I don't do it now that I'm in Kampala, we might end up doing this in like 2050.
20, 2050. So I might have
Yeah.
spoiled one of the questions I was going to ask you, but like I usually like to ask people how they ended up on my podcast, but I might have given it away when I was talking because I know
Yeah,
Nabs
already.
recommended you to be on the podcast, so that's how you ended up
Yeah.
here. But generally, like, how is life? How are you doing? How are things going?
Well, I've been on the road for like 2 weeks straight, so
Hmm.
it's definitely a good time for me. So I can't complain because that is what I love. So I guess life is good generally.
Yeah. For the listeners, I've been trying to do introductions for my guests a little bit. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
say a lot because Eunice does travel, tourism, anything concerning that, and that's mainly what we're gonna be talking about today. How she got into it, and so beginning with that, how did you get into like wanting to travel and wanting to document the things you do on Instagram and on YouTube?
Of course, initially it wasn't about content because I don't think by then I had the idea of creating it as content. It was just loving to travel, going to new places. Uh, but in a beginning, because we know that it is a bit it's actually not even a bit cost. It is costly to travel. So I had to first look for ways that were going to allow me to be able to travel. That is why I started from tourism-based pageants, Miss Tourism, Miss Art, all those ones, because
Mm-hmm.
I knew that if I got a nice position there, it would be easy because I'd already seen those queens being taken to like different
Right.
places. tourism destinations. Yeah, so at first for me that was that, and then with time I figured out ways of doing it. So I guess that is how it started.
That actually that's very good that you mentioned that because I had it down here that and I wanted to focus on that a little bit before going to something else. You participated in a pageant and when you were 19, and that's one of the
Yeah,
very first picture on your Instagram. You talk about that in your caption that when you were 19 and they took you
yeah,
to these places, like you just explained, they take you to these places to visit, but for you, you always dreamt that you wished you could do something like that um, in the
yeah.
future, and now to go back and being paid to do the thing that you wanted for. Talk about that a little bit more, because you kind of were saying out to the other child, another girl out there who has the same dream, or who doesn't even know they have that dream, and you're telling them to
Yeah.
keep the dreams alive. How was that for you?
I guess it starts from what you're actually passionate about, because I don't think I'm going to inspire someone to love something. You know, you might think travel, everyone likes traveling, but even with traveling, you realize we travel for different reasons, for,
Mm-hmm.
you know, yeah. So, but if travel is something that you like, just like it was something that I liked, you have to find for whatever area you love. I think with time you find ways of doing it the
Mm-hmm.
right way,
Yeah.
because you might love travel and think maybe I'm going to now get money from guess men or wherever,
Mm-hmm.
because there are always those other shady ways of getting. But for me, I wanted to get into something that was legit.
Yeah.
I wanted something to um I wanted to be able to now tell the story and tell someone that I did this. I started from here to here to here, and then now I'm here,
Mm-hmm.
not waking up and boom, I'm going to all these
Right.
nice places, and there is no explanation to that. So,
Yeah.
pageants for me was the first thing, because it was, first of all, not free to enter and contest, but it was affordable at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know if I've answered your
No,
question though.
you have. I'm gonna just ask you. I'm gonna follow up with a few questions. Like going into pageantry, is
Yeah.
that now beginning with pageantry? Is that something you wanted always to do, to be in pageantry, or is it something that was opportunity was there and you decided to take it?
Pageantry as a whole used to excite me, but then I don't think, like, I like to watch other people contest,
Mm-hmm.
but I never really imagined myself contesting, because growing up I was actually not. Even now I'm not that girly,
Yeah.
and pageants are for girly girls. You know, makeup, nice nails, nice everything. That was never me.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess at that point I was like, if this could be the avenue that I'm looking for, then I mean, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
So I don't think initially I wanted pageants as pageants. I just selected the pageants that were in line with what I wanted, and that's what I went with.
Okay. No, I understand that because sometimes when look, I'll give an example of this. Like if you have a goal, if you have a destination you want to go, you might start. You take a border from Wakiso, it takes you to Nansana. Then you catch a taxi, it takes you to. So you use different means to get to your final destination. So you might have used
Mm,
pageantry to get you to. I mean, it might not have been the dream that this is what you want to end up to, but you use that to be as your means to get to where you are now. And I like to encourage people
yeah.
that because you might start out with not something you want. Like I tell people that when I started out as a cleaner. Like I would clean the school that I went to. Like I would mop, I would do that. But that I
Mm-hmm.
was using that to take me to the next level, to take me to the next step. And anybody out there, you don't have to wait to win. Oh, I'm gonna wait till I hit it big. But like you just
Yeah.
explained, like there's a trace, there's something you can follow to get to where you want to get. But yeah, you have answered my question. Now, I asked, I had Mr. Musingus here and Nabs and people, you guys who are in travel now and creating content. Because when we were growing up, this is not something that was a thing. I didn't know anybody who was doing it, like I did. I'm going to be honest. But when you went to,
Yeah.
and I know you went to school in Uganda and all that, but when you went to school, did you do
Mm.
like, I know now they have courses of tourism at university. Is
Yeah,
that
they
something
do.
you studied or did you study something different?
I did mass communication, very different from tourism. Yeah.
Then did tourism just come in as, okay, it's here now? Have you ever even used your mass communication, or mass communication went to the side number? Let's just go here on what is sent.
So I love traveling, but I never, like I said, I never thought of it as something that I would do, maybe as a job or something. Just knew that is something that I would do frequently if
Yeah.
I got money. Yeah, but then, so the job section, I always thought of being on TV. I love media, I love camera, both behind and in front.
Mm-hmm.
So I always thought, okay, so like midway school, like second year, I thought, okay, now that I love travel and I'm starting to be on TV, because apparently when you're doing mass communication, you think you're gonna end up on TV. And I used to think, okay, I'm gonna do like a travel show. For me, initially, that is why that was the initial plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then after school, I did work with a few media houses, but mostly in Western Uganda, and I also tried out some stations in Kampala, but they weren't really giving me something that I wanted, or they were giving me different things. Probably it was either the money or what they were giving me, so
Mm-hmm.
things were not necessarily adding up to what I wanted. So that is how I used my small camera skills
Yeah.
to start recording myself and everything, and then do tourism. Yeah, so
That's
I did
good.
it my own way. Yeah.
Yeah, I also like to think about the parents' side. You know, when our parents sent us to school, they wanted us to be
Yeah.
successful people. They want you to be a doctor. Omwana wange banange, he's now a doctor. He's now like Vichy. When your parents found
Yeah.
out you're going to this route, was that an issue with them,
Yeah.
or at that time you were on your own and you can do whatever you want?
Well, with African parents, you're never really on your own. You might think you're on
That's
your own, but they'll still be asking you questions.
With African
Mhm.
parents, you're never on your own. Let's revisit that now that the internet is back. So you mentioned they were still questioning it.
I they didn't stop me, but I didn't do it entirely. Like I would do my normal job, then when I got like a day off or like during weekend, I would go shoot my content and post it during the weekdays. So I
Okay.
didn't have to do that entirely for them to start asking me if I think that is going to work out, or if I think it is like a very good decision.
Hmm.
So yeah, it took baby steps. It's not something that I did out of the blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, even if the parents are not gonna be happy. For you, you see it.
Exactly.
Not everybody is gonna see your dream or your picture or what you're seeing. So sometimes you have to try it
Yeah.
out, and then it works out. Sometimes it does not. But you will never know unless you try. The other thing that I saw was really cool about you was you visited all parks in Uganda. How did
All
you
of
do that?
them.
How did you do that?
I think I should do a documentary because,
Yeah.
hey, that I gave myself. I didn't even know it was going to take 2 years, because I thought maybe around three, because you know how expensive it could be, even just visiting one, because you know how our parks are literally like all over the country, the
Mm-hmm.
east, the
Mm-hmm.
northern part, southwestern, this side. So yeah, so I don't know where to start from. Financial wise, getting time, where exactly do you want
I
me to
start with getting time.
time? Yeah, obviously I had to wait for weekends, because 8 to 5 jobs, you're at work all the time. Yeah, it was mostly in weekends. Apart from the three last national parks that I did this year,
Mm-hmm.
after I'd left another job, as I was searching for another job, then I used that time to like fix them in there,
Okay.
using the money that I'd gotten from the job that I just left. But the other ones were from weekends and the free days that I got.
Does that money come back when you use it, like to travel? Is it like an investment
Uh,
or is it just a leisure?
I guess for me the entire channel has just been an investment, because if I was to wait for the money that I invested in, even like the first 10 videos, trust me, I would still be waiting till now. So that goes back to doing something that you love. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. So, yeah, you mentioned about the money, like you used some of the money you got from the other job to do this. It would be
Yeah.
really how did you then travel? Like, did you rent a car to go to all of them, or did you have a group of people that you were going with? Were you solo?
I think it was only for one national park, Kidepo, that I did that I used a group trip, because that one was offered by a certain safari agency called Rambura Safaris. They reached out to me. The guy literally first started the parks I'd not been to. He's like, so have you been to Kidepo?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no. So it's like I'm heading there in a month from now. Would you love to join and something like that? So we talked it out, and so it was a collaboration. We worked together, and which I honestly loved because Kidepo was going to be like the most expensive park for me to visit
Mm.
because it is way, way up there in the north, very far.
Yeah.
It's not like these are parks where there's like budget accommodation around, there's no, yeah, so it is sort of in a hard to reach area. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that is Karamoja side.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that that came at the right time. But the other parks I used, I just used public means, and I
Border
don't remember
border.
renting a safari
I
car.
saw a clip
Yeah.
of one of the guys who was in the game park with a border border. I think he was going around on Instagram and
The things I've done in those national parks. That is why every time I now go back, they be like, I don't remember your name, but I remember you.
So, how did you get to pick on which one to start with? Was it just lack opportunity? Like, when did you say, okay, now I'm gonna? And was that a goal? Like, I want to visit all the national parks. And how did you pick the
Uh,
first one?
Actually, for the first two national parks, it wasn't a goal.
Okay.
It really wasn't. But then I realized, even in other things without that have nothing to do with travel vlogging, there's a way goals sort of move me because when I wake up, it's like setting it as a goal and like today I'm going to do this and this. So you feel there's a way that drives you.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized that was going to help me because apart from that, I was just gonna keep doing like one park per year.
Yeah.
But after like the third one, I was like, why don't I actually go to all of it? In fact, when I was starting, I didn't even know we had 10 national parks.
Mm.
I did the first one, did the second, did the third. Then I was like, wait, so I'm left with seven. How about, I could do this? I didn't even give myself like a time space. I was like, let me just do this. I mean, yeah. So, but it was personal. I never really put it out there because
Okay.
again, I did pressure from people of like, guy, you know how people can be like,
Mhm.
guy, you've taken a very long time without giving us a national park. Nah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I
So
just
I
did
got a
it on my
content.
own, and
People want
yeah,
content. Give us content.
exactly. Yes, I just told them on like the eighth one. I'm like, by the way, two national parks to go, and they're like, wait, what? You're gonna go to all of them? But
Yeah.
at that point, I'd already figured out how to do the rest.
Oh, that's my dream. I've only been to, I think like three or two. I think I'm bad. I don't even want to
So you
say it
have
on air.
7 more to go.
I have time to. But the cool thing is like whenever I come back to Uganda, I try to get my family to go to something to go to. So
Yeah.
like last time I was there, we went to Maction Falls. So we've been going to different places, and I like that because it makes me happy, hang out with
Yeah.
family, and then you get to see your country, like the beauty of Uganda. And that's one thing I have to appreciate you, the guys who are doing content about Uganda, because we hear a lot of. I mean, not even just here. We know our country, what is struggling with, what is going on, but we also
Yeah.
know what our country is rich in. Like we have a lot of beauty, like regardless of where the state of the country is, we have
Mm.
and other stuff that we have not even seen. Like most of us, people who are
Yeah.
gonna complain, Banange and Gudos in Kampala and B, which is true. The roads are bad, but when you
Yeah.
go out there, then you see, Banange, that's beauty. Like that's beautiful. Like when I look at your Instagram page, it's like, is that even Uganda? Like, because we don't know, but we know that the roads in Kampala are bad, and that's what we
Yeah.
see. And that's why the Baganda have that saying, "Atanaita ita." Yeah, attend from like if you don't travel, you only
Yeah.
comment about what you
Thinking
know. I
exactly.
appreciate you guys for
Yeah.
that. What is something
Thank
you've
you.
learned you've
Mm.
loved about doing this kind of content?
Uh, of course, the obvious one is doing what you love because apart from creating content and doing all those other things, that is what you love. So that kind of overshadows all the rest of I getting your money back. Is it really worth it? Blah blah blah. So I get to do what I love, and I also get to enjoy. I mean, now I get to enjoy places that I would have never thought of going to because, like most of the safari lodges I create content for, I don't think I would have been able to afford
Mm.
a night there. So I get to enjoy that and still get paid to enjoy that. So for me, it is a win-win.
That is
That's
true.
like my
That is something I always try to remind people. Like every time you do something you love from your heart, it's
yeah,
gonna give you the energy to keep doing it. And when I
Yeah.
decided to do the podcast, is it's something I love. I love to talk to people about what they do, how they did it. And because I love it, that's why I continuously do it. And people will be like, Panangi, how do you get time to do all these podcasts? It's because I love it and because I push myself to do it and I come up with a strategy on how I'm going to do it and it helps you to keep going. So anytime you do something you love, I I don't do good on something I'm forced to do. I like something that
Exactly.
comes from the heart that will keep me going. The other question, no, it wasn't a question. What's something you could send out to people who don't see anything good in traveling? Like, me, I don't travel. I have friends here in America that
Mm.
they don't travel. They just, and I've seen this problem with them. Like they only know where they were born. They have not left America to go to another country. They have not left where they were born to go to another state. So when I went
What?
there as somebody from Uganda, they had never.
Yeah.
I think some of them didn't even know what Uganda was like a country. So living with that kind of people was hard because their thinking was just on what they know around there.
Limited to
It's
what
limited.
they.
So they didn't know
Yeah.
how to treat me. They didn't know how to connect with me. They never seen anybody with my skin color. I mean, they might have seen or they might have like had things, and that's where you find the hardest. That's where I find the hardest. I found the hardest time to leave because people didn't know how to associate with you. Like even when you live with them being nice and trying to show them the
Yeah.
good side of you, they didn't have that. So it was hard for me. And I think that for me, I saw that as like these people need to travel, need to go to see different places, need to go learn different things. And that for
Mm.
me, that would be my answer for people who don't travel. What would be your answer for people who don't see travel as something important?
Because, like I already mentioned, people show up for different reasons. And I never realized that until I started going for group trips. There's someone who's going to go on that trip, and for them, it's just it's like a break from work. They'll drink on the first day, and you probably have like a safari the next morning. They'll drink literally till morning. So by the time you guys are in the park looking for a leopard, a witch lion, they are dozing, but they are happy. They're not missing out on anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
and for them, it's not about what they're going to see. It's like they're away from maybe Kampala, that noisy city, and everything. So for them, it's like a break, and it is okay. And then, yeah, different people. Not everyone is there to necessarily see wildlife or nature. So some people it is that. But I guess for me, I can say it from a way of in a way of something that is personal to me. Because for me, apart from liking it and it being sort of like a job, at least for now, I think I'll talk about how it has helped my mental health. Uh, I don't know about other people, but like for me, being in a different place, especially places that are surrounded with nature, water. That is why like 90% of my Instagram content has, nature, forests, water, green, that. So for me, every time I'm around that, there's a way it sort of puts me in a more peaceful, it gives me a peace of mind mentally. I feel better by the time I leave that place. I don't know if it's just for a day or for a weekend, even if it's just an afternoon and I'm just by the water, I'll not come back the same. And I know that mental health is something that a lot of people struggle with, but for me that is the way I cope with it. And I don't need to travel. I mean, walk around. Is there like a small forest? Is there like a what? Even if you just take a walk, it could just do something for you. So for me, yeah, mental health could be a side that I see it from.
That is a great answer. And I like how us having conversation like this ends up to leading to healing therapy, like things you do that help you to forget all the problems you have, forget all the things you're dealing with when you go out in the even the fresh air, like you just go out, look at plants, look at things, it helps you forget all the things you have and it helps you heal. So I'm glad you mentioned that. And we need to discover things in life that are therapeutic for us, like things that calms you down, things that help you. And that's why for me, talking to people helps me a lot. And making this podcast, people might say, oh no, I gotta call it just content. But I do this podcast for me first, actually. And this is no offense
Yeah,
to my listeners or anybody. Like, I do this for myself. And
yeah,
once I have people here to talk about, for me, it's a therapy for me because I'm far away from home. When I get to
yeah,
have you people on the podcast all the time, it makes me feel like I'm connecting with my people back home. I'm not feeling
yeah,
homesick. I talked to somebody who went to Chidepo. It makes me feel like I went to Chidepo. Like as stupid as it sounds, like for me that's therapeutic, and that's why I do it. And then afterwards, I'm like, I bet there's somebody out there who will like to listen to this, and then put it up on YouTube, put it up on my podcast platform. Whoever wants,
yeah,
you can listen to it. My podcast, you don't have to pay to listen to it, and it's just out there. So in life, when we do things we love, it helps us in ways that we don't. So people out there might think of my podcast as on a content, on a content creator, but deep
yeah,
down there, it's more than just content. Just like you just explained,
yeah.
it's just more than just content. It just helps you with mental health and just keep you doing what you love. The other question I don't want to miss, and we're gonna talk about this, is you went bungee jumping. That was crazy. I had Buskago. I don't know. Yeah, you know Buskago, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I know Chicago.
So Buskago went. No, he's not the one who did it. He was actually shot by Mo. He's the one who did the bungee jumping. Buskago just took the pictures. So I had
Yeah.
Buskago on the podcast, and I was like, Buskago, you went bungee jump. How do you do that? Like, I saw your pictures and your videos. I'm like, I'm gonna talk to her about it. How do you get? I don't know. I don't know if this sounds bad. Like, we call it. It's a slang. We say, how do you get the balls to do that? Like, how do you get?
It's funny because that had been on my list for like 3 good years, and the only reason I'd not done it is because I mean it wasn't in my budget then. Because the first jump is I don't know about the other place that does it, but from Bungee Uganda the first jump is 200,000. Then the second one is 150,000 shillings. Then the third jump is actually free. So I'd get there and balance my car money. I'm like, 200K, then transport to Jinja, then what? So it needed a whole budget. So one time I was actually on Twitter joking, like I badly wanted to do that. I was like, I could even do it without. I was making a joke. I'm like, how much if I want to do it without the rope? The bungee rope. So the whole time I didn't even know that the boss of the place actually follows me. On my social media, the whole
Yeah.
time. The whole time people are watching. So he invites me. So it's like, you can come through, during the weekend and you do this, come do your thing. I'm like, are you sure? So I got on the bus and I was in Jinja. I think that was last weekend and I did it. But I don't know about other people, but for me, the fact that I always wanted to do it, I'm not gonna say it's not scary. It is scary, uh, especially when you get on top and you get to sit down. Because when you're down and you're at the level of water, and you see people, falling into the water. I feel like this is doable. Then you start going up that bungee tower,
Mhm.
and then now you get on top, and then because it's 44 meters from the tower to the water, and you're like, what was I thinking? But then at that point, you really can't go back because everything is now done. The
Yeah.
fast and everything, and yeah,
Oh
so I
my
had to
god.
do it.
The first thing I've ever done was
But
zip lining. Zip lining was scary for me, but now I could do it because I don't think zip lining is that bad. But the difference with bungee, what were you gonna say?
I was going to tell you, zip lining is like the first step
Yeah.
because for me, when I did zip lining, I remember it was also scary because I don't know which one you did. You probably did the Mavira one. I
No, it
did the
wasn't
one
in
on Lake
Uganda. This one
Bunyonyi.
was here in the States, the one I did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, that one was probably scary because I remember when I did the zip lining, I was like, "What? This is actually scary." Because I mean, this is Lake Bunyonyi. What if I get into this water? How do I even get out? I mean, these guys don't even know how deep this lake is, and
Hmm.
I'm ziplining on top of it. Then I move on from that. Then I later do abseiling. Then I was like, wait, ziplining was actually not that scary. And then I get bungee jumping, and I'm like, okay, the other two, they were jokes.
Yeah.
This is the thing. So yeah, the higher you go.
So I did this zip line. I was scared. I didn't want to do it because I was like, man, the one we did, you go through a forest and there are trees and like it's just going
Yeah.
so fast. And some people would like, I was holding on myself like this. But then other people like would flip upside down, and then the legs are up and the hands are down. I'm like, I cannot do that. It's like,
Yeah, so when you're on top, it is going to feel like, you know what, I shouldn't have even signed up for this, but it's always worth it.
see,
At the end, you feel like I should.
bungee jumping for me is hard because I don't have anything to hold on to. You're just falling. You're going down and hoping that that rope doesn't snap.
Because midway, you get to a point and you feel like nothing is actually holding you. So
Mhm.
at some point in the pictures, you have to like hold the rope because you mentally have to keep telling yourself, no, the rope is actually there. Because you keep seeing the water and
Mhm.
you keep imagining, okay, what if nothing is still holding me and I'm gonna fall into the water and drown? So yeah, at some point you feel it, you want to feel the rope and make sure it is there. Yeah.
See, I feel like I'm adventurous, but that
But not to that point.
no, not to that point. See, the thing I told, showed by Mo because I talked to him about it was I
Yeah.
would skydive, but I would not bungee jump.
With skydiving, okay, yeah, you kind of have a point, but nah. But skydiving is higher than bungee jumping,
See,
so maybe you're not scared of heights. So
it's higher, but with skydiving, you have a parachute that they turn on.
yeah.
I think midway of air, and the fact that there's somebody that's going with you, but too far, FMB. I'm not dying alone. Unless like people who go by themselves, they're experts, so they've done it like a million times. But when I'm going
Yeah.
out to try it, I'm going with somebody. So if that thing goes wrong, yeah, at least I died with somebody. with the fun.
But someone holding you doesn't guarantee you safety. Both of you could just drop on the ground.
Yeah, I guess so. But I think I would rather do that than bungee jump because, and this is the other thing, I'm not
Mhm.
very good at individual sports, like individual activities. I like team activities. Individual activities, omo gena kufa weka. Like, so for me, my
Maybe
concern
for
is
you it's
just
not
dying
about
alone.
height.
No, it's
You
not
just
about
fear
height.
dying.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I've laughed a lot about this, but yeah, for me, when I saw your pictures, but no, I had a question to ask you about bungee jumping. Like when that rope is going, or did somebody pushes you? They push you?
You get to choose if they should push you or not.
Or about you? Okay.
Yeah, but I told the guy, um, I mean, now I told him I'm feeling confident, but I know how I can go from 100 to 0 real quick, especially when I get to the edge
Mm-hmm.
and see the water. So I told him, the moment I start telling you stories you do not understand, the moment I start talking a lot, just push, because that will be fear. So the moment I said you, I tell what I don't remember what I was telling you. Just pushed me mid sentence and I just went. I was screaming all through.
Yeah. I feel like I would
Yeah.
pass out. I would faint midway going down. I would just pass out. just I'll just pass out.
You should do it.
No, I don't do good with peer pressure because peer pressure might make me do it. I'm easily peer pressured. So I won't give people a chance to peer pressure me. Once they started that, I cut it out. Nope. No, 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 no. Let's talk about something else. But anyway, in all the places you've traveled, what has been your favorite place?
Ha! That will be hard.
Yeah.
That will be hard. But of course, there are places where you sort of get an attachment to. And for me, that was windy. I mean, I did gorilla trekking and all, but I love the kind of weather there. I love gloomy weather. Um, so that is windy for you because it is literally cold throughout.
Mm.
And then, so for me, waking up, because the time I was working there, I was working at a safari lodge and it was a bit raised. So you'd get to see like the canopy and then is it called mist? Like
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
mist on top of like amongst the trees, and then because you get like a glimpse of Mount Muhabura from Kisoro, and then like a snow cap on top. I I can't
I think you have a
explain
picture of
how.
that. Don't you have a picture of that on Instagram? I think I saw. Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that.
So for me, having access to that every day was reason enough for me to wake up. And I know, of course, my workmates didn't relate to that. They used to make fun of me, Mboyagala into Yabazungu, because they don't understand how, as a Ugandan, snow or mist can just excite you like
Hmm.
that. So yeah. So I liked the weather in Bwindi.
That's good. I'm yet to visit Buendi. I want to go visit that place. Um,
You should.
the other topic I want to talk about, not a topic, but like a place you've been to is Old Tux Park. And I saw Nabs did something about Old Tux Park, and you were there too to talk about it. When I saw the picture, it brought back memories. Nga, the first time I went to Kampala, I got lost in Tux Park. Vanang. I I almost took taxis that went to a wrong place.
But how? They always
I don't
have
know.
like those
Signs.
posters on top.
I don't know. I'd never been in Kampala. No, I think I had, but I was with my parents. So this time I would go by myself. I
Yeah.
get lost. Ate mulimawa yaya. Ate abasaja. They just looking for customers. Which again, he's not going to. You tell the conductor, I'm going to Wakiso. Niwabanga agenda Entebbe. He was just, hey,
Yeah.
you
And they
come.
drop you somewhere in
Yeah.
the middle
It's like,
and you have
oh,
to figure stuff out.
exactly. But no. What kind of content do you like to do in the Old Tex Park? Like when you go there to visit?
Um, because initially it used to be a mess down there, like especially in this rainy season, it would be very muddy. Everywhere would be a mess. So I we used to create content from there, but then it was okay. It's just a park and all that. But after they renovated it at the beginning of lockdown, I felt like it was now worth showing off because people would be like, "Oh, you guys have a nice park and all that," but it's very dirty because remember people from everywhere else they dump. You know how we are not so good with garbage disposal and all that, like all these bottles and plus the mud. So yeah, so for me, I remember after them renovating it, that was the time I felt like, okay, now we can show this off because they tarmacked everywhere down, so
Hmm.
it's now like close to perfect. And also they sort of decreased some of the taxes. They took them to like other. There's how they distributed everything. Then it's now a breathable
Yeah.
space. Yeah, so I think for me that was my favorite time.
I think I need to visit that place. I don't think I've been in that park for the last, I bet 20 years or something. I don't know. It's been a
Oh
long
wow.
time. Every time I go to Kampala, I'm in like a private car, so I don't get to use the taxis. Yeah, I don't know the last time I sat in a taxi. It's a long, long time. But yeah, such a good place. When I saw the picture, it brought back memories. So it would be nice to go down there and just take a tour when I come back to Uganda. It would be nice to visit.
Yeah.
I saw you in church today. So you go to church too? Oh, Saba Saba ko, eh?
First of all, I don't think I would have ever made it here without God,
Nice.
honestly, because I feel like, because with God, I believe everyone has a personal relationship with God, and for me, I know where He got me from to here. I know I could explain my journey the whole day, but someone will not exactly get it because there is a day I would beg God and be like, God, I love these things, but I don't have a way of figuring this out. And you sort of hand over everything to God. And the funny thing with prayers is that sometimes you actually move on from the stuff you've asked God for, but then years later something happens and you're like, wait, I actually prayed for this and now it is here. So for me, God has been there every step of the journey. I don't want to say I go to church every Sunday, but I do pray. I do pray. So yeah, I guess in Sabako.
No, that was good. I like that I talked about that because the way you answered it and the way you touched on it means a lot. And when I saw that, I was like, definitely, I need to ask her about it because my podcast is not like I don't label it like a Christian podcast. I host anybody who has a story to talk
Yeah.
about. But anytime I get a time to ask somebody about God and maybe somebody out there will hear that part,
Yeah.
maybe that part will stick out to them and they know, oh, this talked about God and how He has helped her through this. So any minute I get to talk about God, I love it. But yeah, we're coming close to the end of this podcast. I really appreciate I didn't plan on laughing so hard, but the conversation was so good that I couldn't resist laughing. I can easily laugh, and goes back to what I said. It's therapeutic for me, and but I have a few questions I want to ask you before I let you go. The
Okay.
first question is, what has been a life lesson you've learned in life to this point?
Life lesson, timing. Um, I feel like throughout my journey, uh, there is, well, I have different examples, but I feel like there is a time where you get to and you probably want something so bad, you're like, oh God, I want to be driving by 25. And but then I've realized that if you're not meant to have that car at 25, I don't care if you go and steal that car and force yourself to drive, it will in a way not work out. And I've also learned that when things don't work out at a point where I want them to, it is okay. Sometimes God is actually planning for you something better. But for you, because you're stuck to that and that is what you want to see, that's what you want to become, then you end up sort of forcing things and you sort of mess up with the bigger thing that is coming your way. So, and I'm saying this because I used to be over, should I say over ambitious? Like I would even tell God what I wanted. I'd be
Mm-hmm.
like, God, at 25, I want this, I want this, I want to have done this.
Mm-hmm.
But then I've learned to like learn that everything will happen even in an easier way without even me trying so hard at a moment where it is supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so just go with the flow and do what you're able to do then. Don't over stress yourself. Just do what you can at the right time. Whatever you want, if that is what God has planned for you, it will definitely happen. So God's timing.
That's
Yeah.
a mic drop. God's timing and God's speed. I'm not even going to add anything to that. The other question, what gets you excited about life?
What gets me excited about life in itself.
Yeah.
For me, waking up and I can still breathe and I'm still alive. You see, you don't get to appreciate the fact that you're still alive until you see someone that is praying for even one more day,
Mm-hmm.
even one more hour, one more day with maybe their family around them, one more day to see their kids, to see their grandkids. So for me, being alive is already a blessing.
That's great. That's a great answer. The final question, which is a signature question of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you like to see on this podcast next? And you're gonna help me and connect me to that person to be our next guest on the podcast.
Wow. I don't know how I forgot that part. I feel like you've hosted everyone that I know, though.
Yeah.
I feel like you've hosted everyone. Let me see. The cooking nurse,
No, I've not hosted her.
Rita.
Okay. No, I've not had her.
Yeah, you definitely should have her on here.
Okay. So you're gonna help me connect to her, and then I'll reach out to her and officially invite her to be on the podcast. Hopefully, she doesn't take a year like Eunice did.
No, she's not gonna take her. Yeah. Yeah, she
Yeah.
also actually has like a podcast thing going on
Oh,
for
she
her, so it
does.
will be easy
Okay.
for you guys to work on
Yeah,
it.
that would be
Yeah.
nice. That would be nice. Oh yeah, thank you very much for your time. I
Thanks
appreciate.
for having me.
And thanks for remembering me that hey, I'm in town. I want to do a podcast, and it was on your mind, so I liked that. That's why I didn't say, yeah, let's do it.
You're welcome.
All right, have a great rest of your evening, and nange kangende ndabe asin.
God.
Okay, bye. Hey there, this is Bonnie Kibuka, the host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching and listening to my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it with a friend and recommend somebody to this podcast. Don't forget to leave a feedback on this podcast because that's how we grow. And also don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. Join us on our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So we would love to hear from you. Thank you very much and be blessed.